Okay, time for something completely different. This is going to be, I guess I'll call this a preview video, because I haven't been in this situation since I've done anything other than range tests, but as you can quite plainly see here, we have a BigShock. And if you're watching this after this blaster is out, then you might as well just skip this video and go straight to the range test and overview videos, and that'll be more useful. Because what this is about is this blaster is not officially released yet. Of course, that then begs the question, how did I get it? And well, if you're into Nerf and follow Nerf news, a couple weeks back at this point, there was a leak of, it looked like a PowerPoint slide presentation, where it showed all of the Nerf releases for 2015 and gave the names and things. And so once there were names to go looking for, started looking around on the internet and on a Chinese shopping site. Lo and behold, I found a MEGA BigShock. And so ordered it up, and it showed up. As you can kind of see, the box is a little worse for wear. Came over from China. No, I'm not going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to buy products directly from China. That's what Google's for. If you can't figure it out on Google, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Lots of ways to lose your money doing it, because there are lots of scams and things. So if you are going to try and look up how to do it, that's just word to the wise. It's can be very problematic. Anyway, this time it's worked out though. So, and we have a BigShock. Haven't taken it out of the box yet because I wanted to show you that this is the real deal. This isn't a prototype or anything. This is a full retail unit. Now, as you may have noticed, we have a gray trigger here. For some of you, well, actually, probably a lot of the folks that watch my videos may not necessarily know what that means. So bear with me for a second. If you do know what it means, skip ahead in the video because I'm going to explain gray triggers. A couple of years ago, as you know, Nerf started putting out the Elite line. The whole deal being they shot farther, and as a result, of course, they shoot harder. And countries, of course, have safety regulations regarding toys and, you know, how hard they can hit and things like that. And so different countries having different rules. While what Hasbro designed was perfectly fine for the US market, there are other countries that the new Elite stuff was too powerful and didn't meet their safety laws. And the big one, I mean, I know it's more than, but the big one that comes to mind is Australia. And so in Australia, what Hasbro did so they could sell all their new blasters is they put weaker springs into them. Or I don't know exactly how they managed to do the flywheel blasters, but anyway, they detuned all the Elite blasters to make them comply with the Australian safety regulations. And the visual indication on a blaster of whether you had a US version or an Australian version was the US products have orange triggers, like they pretty much always have, and Australian products have gray triggers. And so when I bought this, I could see that it had a gray trigger. However, that has started to less and less automatically mean it's an Australian version, because if you go to Toys R Us right now, there's a 4-pack of Sonic Jolts, and they have gray triggers. And I think Amazon is now selling Sonic-colored Jolts with gray triggers in the US. And in that case, the gray trigger just means it's not Elite ranges. And so Hasbro decided, why are we making two different versions of the same thing when we're not changing the power at all? Anyway, so I didn't know if this was going to be a US gray trigger or an Australian, but let's take a look at the back of the box. Looking down in the fine print here, it does say Hasbro Australia on it. So this is an Aussie version. So it's actually my first Australian Nerf blaster. I haven't bought one before because the shipping would have been kind of cost prohibitive to buy all of them. So I'll be excited. This will be the first blaster I'll get to do a range test and overview for my Australian viewers. So cool stuff. Keep an eye out for those. But yeah, so going around, as pretty much everyone had already guessed when the leaked images came out, this is essentially seems to be a mega jolt. And so the interesting things of note is right here, that is definitely a N-Strike logo. That is not an Elite logo. Another thing I'm going to debunk right now, haven't had a video with an opportunity to do it, but just because it is a blue package with a Nerf product does not automatically make it Elite. Some people think that. Those people are wrong. You should not listen to those people. Do not be ignorant. Blue does not mean Elite. Elite means Elite. And so on an Elite logo, instead of saying N-Strike across the center, it'll say Elite across the center with the N-Strike being above it. So just so you know, and you can go to any number of the new Nerf videos where I've got things still in the boxes and you'll see the N-Strike Elite crest on there. But anyway, so this box does not have a range claim on it and has a N-Strike logo, which automatically jumps out to my head that this thing is not rated for 75 feet or 20 meters, depending on which place you're watching this from. It's the different Elite ratings. But anyway, so that, and it's not just a box, it's on the blaster itself, and there had been some pictures of this blaster that had leaked out already, and people had taken note of the N-Strike logo and were thinking, oh, maybe it was just a mistake, because there have been blasters that have been mistakes. The first run of Elite Alpha Troopers had the old N-Strike logo instead of the Elite one when it was an Elite blaster. But no, this is on purpose, or someone got it very wrong. But yeah, going around on the back. Now, because this is the Australian version, I would like to point out that the picture has an orange trigger. This could just be art, just generic art that got made up and they didn't really care about it. However, that could indicate that the US version and versions that normally have orange triggers will have an orange trigger version of this. There's been no pictures, no information. We'll find that out at a later date, I'm sure. So I don't imagine if there is a different US version that's more powerful, it'll suddenly have Elite logos on it instead of the old N-Strike logos. That would be really, for the US market, that would be really cool if a Elite, more powerful version of this came out. But I don't anticipate that they would put two versions of this blaster out that are that different from each other. So there you go. What else do I want to talk about before I take it out of the box? I think that about covers it, so I'm going to crack this thing open and we'll take a closer look at this blaster. Back again with the Big Shock now that we've gotten it freed from its packaging. In the interim, I of course taken some time to play with this thing around the apartment, get familiar with it, so I can be a little bit less rambly in this part of the video than I was in the beginning. Apologies for that, however, of course, as you can imagine, I'm pretty excited to have something that's listed on the 2015 release docket so soon. Speaking of the release, I would imagine, since I was able to get my hands on one of these already, that we're probably going to see the Big Shock, and if I had to guess, the Cyclone Shock, as the pictures seem to indicate it's called, which is the bigger revolver mega thing. I imagine we're going to see those around Christmas time, in the US at least. So keep an eye out if you're interested in one of these. Anyway, from playing around with it, as everyone had already figured out, no surprises, this is just a gigantic jolt. I mean, it looks the part, it operates the same, so you just pull down on the bottom, there's your draw, and pull the trigger to fire. Very straightforward, no more complicated than a jolt. It does have this nice bit on the top here that holds, it does come with 2 darts, as you probably noticed in the packaging, but got this bit up top to hold your extra ammo, or if you look down it, they put a hole in the front so you can use it as a sight when you're not using it to hold an extra dart. I don't know how well you can get it on camera, but there's that sight. Anyway, straightforward. Firing it around the apartment, again, I'm not going to even make range claims without actually getting this thing outside and doing it. And that will be a video at some point because I do want to do a Gray Trigger BigShock, since I have the opportunity, do a Gray Trigger BigShock range test video for my Australian viewers. That'll be separate from the US version whenever the US version of this blaster does come out and I get one. But anyway, just firing it around the apartment. It's got an N-Strike logo for a reason. Standing at one end of my apartment, it's not, I mean, if I angle it a little bit, it'll hit the wall. Otherwise, it's not even going end to end, and usually anything Elite or Mega will nice and solid thunk off the wall that I'm shooting at. That is to say, I'm not disappointed at all in the ranges. I wasn't expecting it to shoot like something Elite rated, because it's not. Up close, it still fires perfectly well, hits perfectly hard, as most Mega things do. So again, not a disappointment. It's exactly what it says it is. Good stuff. For reference size-wise, because this is the Jolt of the Mega line, so putting it next to a Magnus definitely looks the part of a Jolt for Mega. It's nice and small and compact when you compare it to the standard pistol Mega Magnus size. And of course, though, it is a monster when we get out a regular Jolt. I've got the Zombie Strike one. Just happened to be the one I had handy. And so it is obviously much bigger. Give you a look down the front too. So there you go on the size comparison. I hadn't seen it. Any of the pictures that had been showing up from China hadn't had it, you know, side by side with stuff. So I wanted to show you that. Now, of course, you'd expect it to be bigger than a Jolt. I don't have a Triad quite handy, but I have held it up side to side with one, and it is actually bigger than a Triad as well. This part in particular is noticeably bigger, so modders, think about modding potential. I'm not going to touch this one, of course, but could be an interesting modding project in the future. Anyway, that just about does it, so thank you for bearing with me. I know I've been rambling, but terribly excited about this thing, to be able to get my hands on it and to show it to you folks, give you a sneak peek preview of the Mega BigShock. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, should be a couple months away from a retail release. They haven't announced, there's been no official announcement yet, so we don't know what the price is, anything beyond a generic 2015, but I'm saying probably by Christmas. And if I had to guess, I would say $10 or less. US price, that is. Anyway, keep an eye out for that. And of course, we will look to see if the Gray Trigger sticks around for the US version or not. Anyway, I'm still rambling. Let's stop this thing. Mega BigShock. As always, thanks for watching.